Google made its biggest acquisition ever today, buying Motorola Mobility.
Motorola Mobility.
Motorola Mobility.
Google is willing to pay $12.5 billion for the mobile phone maker.
It's Google's biggest buyout yet.
Motorola, a company known for leading the tech industry in various sectors in the 1900s, was sold in 2012 for $12.5 billion to Google. Barely any traces of the previously respected and reputed company were visible. But what happened to the once tech giant that led to its such ugly demise? To find that out, we must rewind. In the 1920s, during the prosperity of the Coolidge era, there was a boom in consumer consumption. Radios became extremely popular, and almost every household in the US had one. Following this, brothers Paul and Joseph Galvin decided to purchase the bankrupt Stewart Battery Company's battery eliminator plans and manufacturing equipment at auction for $750. On the 25th of September 1928, they incorporated Galvin Manufacturing Corporation, GMC, in Chicago. Battery eliminators allowed radios to operate on standard household electric current instead of batteries. But competition in the battery eliminator business was intense, with manufacturers aggressively undercutting each other. And with the stock market crash in 1929, the product was becoming obsolete. Custom built-in car radios had appeared in 1926, but cost $250, which was way too expensive for the average driver. Paul realized he could make a fortune if he was able to mass-produce affordable car radios. Thus, GMC diversified into making automobile radios. GMC's first car radio was launched in 1930. Paul wanted a brand name for their new car radio. He created the name Motorola by linking motor with Ola, which was a popular ending for many companies at the time. The unit was successful as it was sold for $120, much cheaper than the other automobile radios available at the time. The Motorola brand name became so well known that Galvin Manufacturing Corporation later changed its name to Motorola Inc. By the late 1940s, Motorola had introduced several advanced radio systems and also launched the Handy Talkie, a portable two-way radio, which was used extensively during the Second World War. In 1948, Motorola made its debut in the television industry with its first Motorola television set, called Golden View.
See me at my best. See me on a Motorola.
The product soon became popular as it was more compact and sold for $180, while competing models retailed at around $300. By the end of 1948, Motorola had become the fourth largest seller of televisions in the US. By 1950, its net revenue was $177 million, and the number of employees had reached 10,000. Motorola kept on producing innovative products and leading the tech industry. From Pageboy 1, the first successful consumer pager, to the transceiver on which Neil Armstrong spoke the famous words,
"It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."
It entered the cellular phone business in the 1970s and held about 45% of the market share till the 90s. Motorola's next-generation 32-bit microprocessor, the MC68000, led the wave of technologies that spurred the computing revolution in 1984, powering devices from companies such as Apple, Atari, and HP. But all this was soon to change in the 1990s. While Motorola was constantly growing, they had made a number of mistakes that were easily overshadowed by their success. In the 90s, all these mistakes got compounded and created the cliff for Motorola to fall from. And in retaliation, the board of directors decided to use a scapegoat to blame it all on. In the mid-1950s, Paul Galvin had initiated a reorganization of the company. All the business segments were reconstituted as independent divisions and operated as profit centers. By the 1990s, there were around 60 independent divisions in the company. Motorola used to stir up internal competition amongst the divisions to keep them motivated. The 1980s boom in the cellular business ensured a surge in the profits of the handset division. Motorola had a liberal profit-sharing policy, so while employees of the handset division were drowned in money, employees in other divisions such as public safety could just watch along. This created a toxic environment in the company. In addition, Motorola, a company known for its innovative products, lost its edge in the 1990s. Even though it had been an early developer of digital cellular technology that was replacing the old analog cellular system, yet incredibly, the handset division saw no urgency to switch from analog to digital. Also in the late 1990s, the markets in developing countries had started opening up to mobile phones, and there was a high demand for low-cost cellular phones. Companies like Nokia, LG Electronics, and Samsung were quick to capitalize on this trend and they introduced low-cost phones with several value-added features. In 1998, Nokia overtook Motorola as the top mobile phone manufacturer in the world. Motorola's lack of innovation made it fall behind its competitors in an industry that accounted for 2/3 of its revenue. Motorola's troubles were further compounded by the failure of the Iridium communications service, in which the company had invested heavily. Robert Galvin, son of Paul Galvin, in the late 1980s had championed the Iridium satellite system as a way to provide the universal coverage that cellular systems could not. Motorola poured $2.6 billion and countless engineer hours into a $5 billion consortium to develop it. But once Iridium was finally operable in the late 1990s, its bulky $3,000 phones and $7 a minute calls proved too expensive. Iridium declared bankruptcy in 1999 and sold off the bits for $25 million. In 2001, Motorola posted losses of $3.94 billion on revenues of $26.47 billion. The company's market share in the mobile phones market slid from a high of 26% in 1996 to 13% in 2001. This marked the beginning of difficult times for Motorola. The board of directors were under pressure from the shareholders and started looking for someone to shift the blame upon. They settled on CEO Chris Galvin, son of Robert Galvin. In 1997, Motorola's board had summoned Chris Galvin to turn things around. Robert Galvin's son Chris, an MBA, knew the company as well as anyone. He had spent nearly 2 decades there, working his way up the ladder his father had built for him. Chris Galvin inherited a bureaucratic Goliath with 60 different businesses spread throughout the world, nearly all of them weak. World events seemed to conspire against Chris Galvin too. The tech and telecom crash that began in 2000 hammered Motorola's stock. The 2001 World Trade Center attacks and the 2002 SARS scare halted the company's international supply chains and crushed sales. Chris had pinned his hopes on developing and marketing a new digital-ready phone. The new phone would be thin and nearly all metal. It would fold up and exude luxurious design, and it was able to provide the turnaround the company needed, but he didn't survive his job long enough to see it launched. In mid-2003, Chris announced his decision to resign owing to differences with the board on the company's vision and strategy. And in January 2004, Motorola's board brought in Xander as a successor to Chris. This marked the beginning of the Xander era in Motorola history.